What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the reviews. We're going into the 1994 editions of Monday Night Raw. This is going to be the first. This is going to be the first review for the year of 1994. But before that gets started, I just want to let you know that I'm going to be having a picture of the power rankings of the year of 1993. Now, you guys might be like, how did this come about? Well, I have a power rankings series for current WWE superstars on my channel. I'm not telling you to go look at it, I'm just telling you why this has come to be. And I'm going to be doing this for the end of 1994 as well, and then I'm going to be doing it moving on forward. But for this first episode of 1994, I'm going to have the power rankings list on the screen for the entirety of the review, so you can take a look at it and see where some of these guys landed. And in the comments, you can go ahead and tell me if somebody was ranked too high up or too far down in the bottom of the list, or if somebody just didn't belong on there at all. But with that being said, let's get right into the review for the first Monday Night Raw of 1994. Raw starts off at the Undertaker's workshop, where Paul Bearer warns Yokozuna about his future, and Taker tells him that his New Year's resolution is for Yokozuna to rest in peace. We also see Jim Cornette, who is still the manager and spokesperson for Yokozuna, who is complaining about the fact that he wasn't informed ahead of time when he signed the contract for the Royal Rumble that it will be a casket match. However, he doesn't say that word because Yokozuna gets scared when they say the word casket. And then the interviewer goes ahead and says casket like 3 more times. But the match is still going to happen, and they finally give us a little more of a conflict for this match. It's a little silly, but it's 1994, so WWF is that goofy. So with Johnny Polo joining Vince on commentary, Yokozuna comes out to take on a jobber, and he gets the win with the bonsai drop. I'd be surprised if the jobber didn't need a casket after this. You really got to take a look at how he delivered it here, because usually you can tell he doesn't really drop his full body weight on the guy, but this time the guy turns red with the impact. So next up, we have footage from a different show where Luger was taking on Jacques of the Quebecers, but Pierre and Polo try to interfere. So Lex nails a forearm on Pierre, pins him, but he wasn't the legal man because the referee got knocked down earlier, so he was out of it. So the match keeps going the way it was originally going, but the same thing happens to Jacques, and he picks up the win. So he hits the forearm on him, and he picks up the win nonetheless. And then we see a pre-recorded interview with Luger where Vince asks him what he thinks about him not being in the Royal Rumble yet. Luger says that he's just going to let it play out and see what happens. If it's meant to be, he'll be there, and he'll be fired up and all that good stuff. Next up, the Smoking Guns taking on Bastion, Booger, and Bam Bam Bigelow. They try to double team Booger, but Bart goes flying to the outside, where Bigelow throws him into the ring post. So Bart eventually gets the hot tag to Billy, and after a knee lift and a drop kick, they take control of Bigelow while Bastion Booger is on the outside getting rubbed on by Luna Vachon. So Bastion starts hugging and groping all over her. Then Bigelow notices and goes after him and gets counted out, giving the Smoking Guns the win. Refs come out to separate them, but I see that this was just done to put over the fact that at the Rumble it's going to be every man for themselves. Next up, after the Royal Rumble update, Jeff Jarrett taking on a jobber, and he gets the win with a running DDT. So then after that, we see what happened the week before between Marty Jannetty and Johnny Polo. Marty and the 123 Kid, aka Sean Waltman, come out and confront Polo for a match between them two and the Quebecers next week, and it will be for the tag titles. Moving on, the fake Intercontinental Champion Shawn Michaels comes out for a match with Diesel. Not against Diesel, but against the jobber. He comes out with Diesel as his manager, as his bodyguard. He picks up a win by killing his opponent with a pile driver. It was a longer match than I expected it to be for a squash match, but that was the main event, so that means that this was the end of the show. So let's get to the awards. And since this is a new year, I'll mention this again. If you have any award suggestions, leave them down in the comments, and maybe I'll switch one out or add them to my weekly awards. But anyways, best moment, a championship match announced for next week for the Quebecers. Gives me a match to actually look forward to. For the worst moment, I forgot to mention it earlier, and I guess that's why I'm going to pick it. Sparky Plug got a quick vignette. All that happens was that we see him doing some laps, and he tells us that he's coming soon. Not much of a high package. That gets the worst moment. Even though it was the main event and it was a squash match, at least HBK's finisher to end that match was decent. Jarrett hit a lame DDT. For the best match, I'm going to give that to the tag match because it was the only non-jobber match on the show. For the wackest performer, I'm going to give that to Bastion Booger. The stand-up performer goes to Yokozuna. This week I saw a little bit more acting from him with the whole being scared of the casket match and everything, and the way he hit the bonsai drop made it look realistic. So Yokozuna picks up the award for the first time ever, and it's only taken him 1 full year to do it, and he's been WWF champion. Just let that sink in. stand-up performer for the first time ever, and he's been WWF champion for about a year. So for this episode, I'm going to set the bar really high for my expectations of Raw for this year and give this a bad grade. Now, while I didn't think this was a terrible show, I'm just tired of how they structure the show. The jobber matches cannot keep ending the show, and the segments that are meant to advance storylines can't be only 1 to 2 minutes, and sometimes even less than that. They're like 30 seconds. And they also just throw them on the show randomly. While I know a wrestling show doesn't really need any sort of structure to be a good show, the way that they did it back in 1993 and now 1994 just feels like nothing is important, the way they just have stuff happen and then they move on quickly to the next thing. So, with that being said, if you have anything to add, leave it down below in the comments and I'll make sure to delete them. But until next time, I'm out.